Welcome back to Bakes on Things Daily. And Canada, you might need an insolvency trustee. The Liberal platform just dropped today, and it's bad. Let's go. Advanced polls are open. A lot's happening. So we're doing another episode of Bakes on Things Daily, and this one's a huge one. If you haven't voted yet, you need to watch this and the one I did this morning because Canada's future is at risk. Canada, I am fired up, and you should be too. Today, the Liberal platform dropped, and it's not just irresponsible, it's dangerous. $130 billion in proposed new spending. And on top of that, no idea or even hint of a balanced budget until at least 2028. And if you listen to the NDP and talk about and listen to all the cuts they think they have to make, it could be the 2030s. And somehow we're expected to believe that this is sound economic management from somebody who has purported themselves to be the economic wizard of all the world. Well, let me tell you right now, this is how countries lose their sovereignty. You want to know why our sovereignty is at risk? It's the last 10 years of the Liberals and the potential another 4 years. It's not with armies and invasion these days, but with debt, delusion, and government that thinks your tax dollars are monopoly money. And that's how the Liberals are treating your tax dollars right now, even in this platform. They've done it for a decade, and they're about to add 4 more years unless you make the change. So let's break this down. Mark Carney, who, by the way, has never held elected office, is promising to reduce capital spending from 9% to 2% of GDP. He mentioned this in the English language debate. Now, this sounds like belt tightening, doesn't it? Wrong. Because in the very same platform that they introduced this morning, they introduced $130 billion in new spending. Now let's run that math, shall we? With Canada's GDP around $2.8 trillion, dropping capital spending by 7% means a theoretical cut to services of about $196 billion. But that's over several years, and it's theoretical. In reality, most of those cuts are just delayed or canceled infrastructure projects, hence why you're not repealing Bill C-69. Because it's an easy excuse to say these infrastructure projects like large bridges and pipelines and everything won't get done or can't get done. Also, investments in productivity, innovation, defense. I thought he was putting money into defense. And of course, housing. The things Canada actually needs to grow, they're not going to be able to do if they want to drop to 2%. They're cutting the future to fund the present. It's all a shell game. They're not actually saving money, guys. They're shifting it around, slashing real economic growth to fund vote buying programs and bloated bureaucracy again. Folks, Pierre Poilievre was right. Let's look at the real cost. And here's where it gets ugly, real ugly. Okay? This kind of fiscal mismanagement doesn't just show up on a spreadsheet. Look closer. Okay? It shows up on your grocery bill. It shows up on your mortgage. It shows up on your opportunities coast to coast. See, what Canada is forgetting in some instances because of this Donald Trump scare tactic the Liberals are using is that inflation is still here. The Bank of Canada may talk tough, but when your government is pumping billions of new dollars into the economy, all while reducing real investment, inflation isn't going away. It's being fed like a hungry alligator. Interest payments on the debt already approaching 50 billion a year. That's right. Your tax dollars are paying 50 billion a year into interest on Canada's debt. That's more than we spend on healthcare transfers to the provinces. And it's only going to go up under this Liberal platform. But you know what's even scarier about all of this? The foreign ownership of our debt. Think about that. You don't get to spend hundreds of billions of dollars without someone footing the bill. And it's not just the taxpayers. The people writing those checks aren't Canadian voters when it comes to the debt. They're international investors, foreign governments, China, and global financial institutions. So listen, when they call the shots, who do you think our leaders will listen to? You, the taxpayer, or who holds the debt? Really, the answer is an easy one, and I hope you see it. But let's talk about Mark Carney for a second, because everybody seems to think that even though everybody in the rest of the Liberal Party is exactly the same as it was before, and they all have the same policies, and they all believe in those policies, Mark Carney himself will change everything, and he's a massive savior, even though this platform just hit and it's garbage. This guy strutted into the debate with vague promises and lofty visions. Watch my video on the how this morning. Because when he was pressed for the how, he fumbled, he deflected, and he pivoted. Classic Justin Trudeau playbook. In fact, let's just call it what it is. Just like I said this morning in this morning's video about the how, Mark Carney is Justin Trudeau 2.0. And my dog just walked in. Same globalist ideology, same inability to answer questions directly. The only indirectly, or yeah, same inability. See, the dog's distracting me now. The only difference is that Carney wears better suits and quotes financial jargon instead of buzzwords. But the result, there she is. You can see her eyeshadow. But the result, of course, is still the same. Big promises, no plan, and slap together policies made to look good on stage, but fall apart in execution. We've seen this story before. Just like Trudeau's carbon tax, Trudeau's housing plan, and Trudeau's so-called affordability agenda, all of it were grand promises with no plan and no how, and slapped together, ruining our economy. Remember when Justin Trudeau said the carbon tax would be revenue neutral? Yeah, how'd that work out for us? And now we're celebrating when gas prices dropped by 17 cents because a political leader finally hinted at killing it. But that political leader and his party were the ones who created it in the first place. The problems we all felt because of the carbon tax were caused by the people who then said, just kidding, it's an election, I'll cut it. That's how bad this has gotten. And this is where it all leads, to the slow, methodical erosion of our sovereignty. You're worried about Donald Trump. You're worried about the 51st state. You're worried about all the fear-mongering the Liberals are dropping on you over the last month. When you're this deep in debt as a country, when you rely on foreign capital to finance your deficits that you're running, when you cut the real investments that build a nation just to keep your government running, I mean, come on. You're not in charge. You never were in charge. The Liberals were never in charge anymore because they've now made us beholden to foreign governments and foreign debt holders. Instead, you are a client state to the bond market. That's why Carney couldn't possibly have pulled this thing Dean Blundell said he pulled. Because we're beholden to that bond market now. You are governed not by elected officials, but by financial constraints imposed by the people who hold your paper. And guess what? Those same people do not care about Canadian values. Why would they? They're somewhere far off. They do not care about Canadian families or Canadian communities. They care about returns, stability, and control. So even when you look at this platform and you think for one iota of a second that Mark Carney cares about Canada and this is where this is all coming from, remember who's financing it, because none of them care. This platform, it's not just reckless, it's a surrender of Canadian fiscal autonomy, a surrender of future prosperity for the illusion of present comfort. This is a scary new platform. There is nothing good about it. This is what the Liberals are offering: bigger deficits, okay? More dependency, especially on those around the world, which means less freedom. The reason they don't want you talking on social media is because we're beholden to everyone you're talking about. If we don't wake up soon, we're going to find ourselves asking permission to build our own country from the rest of the world because we'll no longer own any of the tools to do it. Canada deserves better. We deserve honest leadership. We deserve real accountability. And we deserve fiscal policies rooted in our strengths, in our resources. That's what we deserve. Listen, review that platform if you don't believe me. You're going to see it in there. Like, share this video, share it across the land. We can't have people voting Liberal. Subscribe and leave me a comment below. Do you trust this platform with Canada's future? Or is this the final step towards selling us out to the world? Because I know where I stand, and I'm about to go cast my vote. And I won't stay silent while our country is sold to the highest bidder. We'll catch you next time.